In this video, we're going to learn about the law of cosine. So the law of cosine is stated in three different postulates. It has three different rules or three different answers that we can choose from. So depending on what side we need, if we need A, it's going to tell us that the two other sides, B and C, you're going to square them and then subtract them. So minus 2 times those two sides times the angle of the side opposite of A. Okay, and if we were looking at B, it would be something similar. So say we don't have B, we're going to look for the two sides that are opposite of it, right? The two other sides that we have, minus those two sides, minus 2AC, times the cosine of the angle that is opposite of what we need. So if we need B, we'd look here. And that's going to be similar to what we see in C. So let's take a look at an example to show what we're talking about. So for this one, we have A. We don't know what A is, okay? But we do have alpha, right? We have the angle that is opposite of it, and we have the two sides that are opposite of A. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to follow this first equation here. So we have A squared is equal to B squared right here. So that's going to be 9 squared plus the other side, 6 squared, minus 2 times those two lengths, 9 times 6, times the cosine of 60. Okay, so now if we simplify that, A squared is going to be equal to 91 plus 36 minus 2 times 9 times 6. Now I didn't simplify this because cosine of 60 I know is 1/2. And if that's the case, then I could just simplify and cross out the 2 and the 2. Now if we add this all together, we're going to get 117 minus 9 times 6, which is going to be 54. So 117 minus 54 will give us 63. So now we have A squared is equal to 633. We'll take the square root of both sides. So A will be roughly equal to 7.94, or the square root of 63. So looking at this example, we're given all three angles. Now we have two sides, and we have a missing side here for B. So we need to figure out which equation we're going to use, which is pretty simple. We're just going to be using B squared. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so for this example, we have the angles for each one of the sides. So now we need to figure out which equation we're going to use, which since we have B, we're going to just go ahead and follow this as B. Okay, so given that, we know that we're going to be looking at the angle that is opposite of B, which is this one right here. Okay, which now means that we have A, we have angle of B, and C. Here's A, and here is C. So solving for B squared, we're going to have B squared is equal to A squared. It's going to be 10 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times those two lengths times the cosine of 30. Okay, so now we'll simplify this out. We got B squared is equal to 100 plus 20 squared is going to be equal to 400. I'm going to keep that 2 in because it does make it easier a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot, times cosine of 30, which we know is the square root of 3 over 2. So we can simplify out, factor out those 2's. Simplifying this now, we get 500 is equal to B squared minus 200 times root 3. And if we use our calculator, B squared is equal to roughly 153.59. And if we take the square root of both sides, that will give us that B is equal to 12.39. Moving on to this one, I want to show you guys a trick that helps me in being able to solve this without really memorizing what the formulas are, because memorizing 3 formulas can be a little bit tricky. And if you see that it follows a certain pattern, you really just need to memorize one. So if we notice for this one, we're looking for x. We don't know what the length of side of this one is, so we're going to put x squared right here. Okay, because they all follow the same pattern, right? It's x squared on the left, then followed by the equal sign. Now we notice that we have two other sides, right? We have the two opposite sides in this triangle. And if we remember that whatever x is, we're going to look for the angle that is opposite of that side x, which is 45. And if we know that, we really can just use these 3 different equations to just simplify it and understand how the process works. So we want to square both of our sides. We got 12 squared plus 8 squared, right? And if you see, that's the same for all three of these equations. You first square the two sides. You subtract by 2, which you'll notice is the same for each one of these. We just subtract by 2, multiplied by the two lengths of those sides, 8 times 12, times the cosine of the opposite angle from what we're looking at, which is going to be 45 in this case. Now we can simplify this out. We have x squared. 12 squared is 144, plus 8 squared is 64, minus 2 times 8 times 12 times cosine of 45, we know is the square root of 2 over 2. We can factor out those 2's here. Simplifying this even more, we're going to have 188 minus 8 times 12, which is going to be 72, times the square root of 2. If we use our calculators, we'll get that x squared is equal to 86.18. We take the square root of that, and x is equal to 9.28.